Well, there was a recent discovery. I'll send this to Jamie. They found evidence that human beings were cooking fish 700,000 plus years ago. Which is really
that makes
wild.
a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, it's here. I'll send this to Jamie. It's really wild because
and it was trout almondine. That's the amazing shit.
No, it was Chilean sea bass. No, that's not really a sea bass. 780,000 years ago. That's what. That's the evidence.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing is how much of those ancient civilizations were about.
Oh, you found it. Jamie found it. Early humans may have cooked fish in ovens 780,000 years ago. Remains of fish teeth.
Now that cheers me up.
Remains of fish teeth at an archaeological site in Israel appear to have been cooked with controlled heat rather than directly exposed to fire. So that's very advanced in our sense of like what people were capable of doing 780,000 years ago. We've developed a methodology that allows us to identify cooking in relatively low temperatures as opposed to burning. She says, you cannot immediately correlate the control of fire with cooking unless you show that the food has been cooked. Wow, researchers have previously suggested that humans were cooking meat 1.5 million years ago based on the discovery of charred animal remains, but that doesn't necessarily mean people were heating food before eating it, says Zohar. Evidence of charred material doesn't mean cooking, it just means the food was thrown into the fire. Zohar and her colleagues have studied a 780,000-year-old settlement in Gesher Bano Yal. How do you say that?
I don't
Try
know.
that. Akwav in Israel's northern Jordan River Valley. No human remains have been found there, but based on its age and the stone tools at the site, the inhabitants are most likely to have been Homo erectus. Wow. Amazing. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So, if you think of those early humans and like when did they become anatomically modern humans? Was it 500,000 years ago? Whatever it was, it gives us a lot of room to learn things and figure things out before natural catastrophes wipe civilization back to the Stone Age again.
Yeah. The other thing I was just saying was that if you think about what we know about these civilizations is there was stone. Seems to have a lot to do with this shit, right? Whether it's South America, Mesoamerica, whatever, it's stone pyramids and stone this and stone that. And stone supposedly is a vibrational material, like something that could be the equivalent of a battery that could hold, at least I've heard that. We're talking about, imaginative stuff here. But who knows what they knew about,
It gets very woo-woo without
evidence. It does. But
it's
every time something is disproved, like when they said, Homer's description of Troy in the Iliad was a bunch of bullshit, right? It couldn't have been that big, right? And then Schliemann digs up the remains of Troy, and it's exactly like Homer said, right? The gate is right here, the other gate is here.
Sure.
So every time we think, these previous generations couldn't have known that, and then we finally dig it up, we go, they were way beyond what we thought.
The discovery of Troy was very eye-opening because now you have to take into account, well, what about Atlantis? When he talked about Atlantis, was that real too? Was there really an advanced...
We're getting out there, Joe.
Yes,
Why are we going to this place? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, I mean, human beings are constantly innovating and constantly improving. And if there was a time in history where we had achieved some immense level of through some method that we don't understand of advanced civilization, and then it all got wiped out, and this is the new manifestation of human creativity and ingenuity and innovation. It's become this thing that we see now, but we think this is the only way. This is as good as people have ever been.
Yeah,
but we're just ignorant to the past.
Yeah,
very possible.
Yeah,
and interesting, very, very, very interesting. Like that show that Graham Hancock has made, I believe it's the #2 show on Netflix now, which is giant. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That an educational show about an ancient catastrophe has become the #2 show on Netflix.
And what makes you wonder, why do contemporary audiences respond to that so much, I
think it resonates with us. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, we hear it and we go, there's something to this,
Yeah, well,
or at least there could be.
He describes us as a species with amnesia. Yeah. I think
sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a believer in previous lives while we're getting far out here. So I sort of sometimes think that amnesia is from lives that we've lived, you know?
Maybe it's that too. Maybe it's history and from lives that we live. Maybe they're all combined in some sort of a strange and unknown way.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you're a believer in unknown lives, like what specifically do you mean? I mean, past lives rather.
I just sort of feel like, you know, if you look at, let's say you have 3 kids in your family, each one comes out of the womb as a fully formed personality. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
It's not like you can mold them into whatever it is, right?
Right.
They already are something. And you also feel, and I feel this about myself, like they come into the world with their own issues, right? There's something, you know, one of them may be angry. One of them may be very peaceful, you know? But so where does that come from? It would just pop out of nowhere?
Yeah.
I love this shit just because it's stories. You know, I love to make up stories, right? Mm-hmm. But like in my book, The Legend of Bagger Vance, it really was about previous lives, you know? It was about, it went back to the continent of Mu and all that sort of stuff. And as I'm writing this, and it's coming out of me, I don't even know I believe it until I see it on the page. So it does, by the time I was through writing that, I sort of felt like, you know, I believe in this. I think there's something to it. And I also believe, for whatever this is worth, that we don't go through previous lives just as solitary individuals. I believe that we might have like a group of 4 or 5 souls that are kind of migrating with us through these lives, you know, and have this, you know, like a constellation of souls that have we might have a mentor that's with us, you know, through various lives. Again, I can't prove this in any way, but I sort of have that feeling, you know?
Where does that feeling come from? When you say you have that feeling, how does that feeling manifest itself in your mind?
I find myself writing it, right? And I don't know where it's coming from. And as I'm writing it, I feel like that makes sense to me. This doesn't sound like bullshit to me. This sounds like, you know, reality. And so again, I can't base it on anything other than I'm sort of inspired with it from somewhere.
You're just saying it resonates. There's
It
something
resonates
about
with
it.
me.